We are here to discuss the recent IBBI discussion paper dated 8th of April 2022, which is about enhancing effectiveness of information utility. The subject therein was concerning, it highlighted that one of the roadblocks in making IBC realize its solemn objective, which is about a time efficient insolvency resolution process, is about long delays between the filing and the admission of a CIRP application. In terms of institution, we already have an information utility in place, but perhaps there are certain roadblocks which need to be cleared before we realize that dream. So I'll just take 2 minutes. We have Ashish Makhija sir here with us. Sir has been very kind to agree to take this discussion. About Ashish Makhija sir, I am sure everybody knows her because sir has not only been an expert in insolvency laws, but other subjects also sir has been guiding. And in fact, sir has also mentored a lot of professional members. So sir is a managing attorney at AMC Law Firm. Sir is an adjunct professor at Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. Sir has also been an adjunct professor at Thomas Jefferson School of Law, from where sir also did sir's Masters in Law. In terms of education, sir is a fellow member of ICAI as well as ICMAI. Sir is a commerce as well as a law graduate from Delhi University and a law graduate, Masters of Law from Kurukshetra University. Sir, as I said, is an author. Sir is an attorney. Sir is a speaker. Sir is an insolvency expert and a corporate trainer. So, without further ado, I straight away request sir to kindly take over. Sir, over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Nitin, for the introduction, and I think and a very good evening to all my friends. Friends, my one simple request. I mean, I don't want to speak to blank screens. So if it is possible, if all of us can open our videos, because this is going to be a discussion. It is not going to be a kind of a lecture that I give and go back. That's not the style. Today, what we need is your comments and your cooperation, and wonderful comments. In fact, everyone speaks out of experience. And this is one of the important consultation paper which has been issued. In fact, Nitin mentioned that is a discussion paper. I would say that IBBI has also changed track now. They don't call it as discussion paper. In fact, they're calling it as consultation paper, which is that we have to consult everyone, all the stakeholders, and then come forward. Okay. So I can still see very few faces. So maybe I would like to see more smiling faces, friends. If you can open your videos, it will be wonderful. Whether you are in a car or wherever you are, if you are in a position to open it, I'll be very happy. Thank you so much. And I can see now a lot of smiling faces. Great. Okay, so friends, let's do one thing. Let me devote just 10 minutes or 15 minutes to give you the background of this consultation paper, and then on 4 aspects, particularly on 4 aspects, the IBBI is seeking comments. And I think let's discuss and debate that. Because these are something which are going to be, there will be future changes. Now, what changes we want? Because later on, ultimately, they affect us. They make our job easier if the amendments are done in a proper manner, isn't it? So therefore, it's very crucial for us to understand that what kind of, you see, the proposals or the changes that should be brought in the regulations. Of course, this is IBBI's paper. They can make changes only in regulation. They can't make changes in the law, or the rules, but they can obviously change regulations. So friends, what is the scope? This consultation paper is primarily talking about on the issues relating to reducing delays in the CIRP process. So first, friends, let us understand, we are not talking about liquidation here. We are only talking about CIRP process, because the government and IBBI as the regulator, they are really concerned that the time-bound process should be finished in time. And ultimately, the delays are happening from even admission of the application and going up to the approval of the resolution plans. And of course, the disposal of the section avoidance transaction applications also. So this consultation paper was issued on 13th April. And of course, tomorrow is the last date for sending the comments. And on our behalf, of course, ICSI will be sending the comments. So, but we have to generate those comments for them to present a proper perspective out there. Friends, this consultation paper, if I tell you, it is divided into 4 parts. The first, it talks about the substantiating default in admitting applications by the operational creditors. So it is dealing with the admission stage. We all know that Section 9 applications are to be filed on behalf of the operational creditors by the OCs. Now, there are certain delays which are there. So how to overcome that delays? And the most important point is that the default has to be substantiated. So therefore, there are certain suggestions which are attached to it. We'll deal with that. But let me take you to the second part. Second part talks about the facilitation of the information availability during the CIRP process. Now, as an IRP or RP, now we are responsible for preparing the information memorandum and also the avoidance applications. Now, if the information is not available, how come the information memorandum can be issued in time? And similar is the case with the avoidance application. We know that there are targets. Of course, there is an NCLAT judgment, recent judgment, now which says that the time limit for the avoidance transaction applications given in the regulation is also directory. But at the end of the day, as far as we are concerned, we will consider them as mandatory, like 75th day, 115th day, or 135th day, right? So formation of an opinion, determination, and filing of application. Now, this is possible only if proper information and timely information is available to us. So therefore, there is some suggestion on this particular aspect also. The third part deals with the avoidance application. Now, the difficulty which is arising is that whether avoidance applications can be considered by the NCLT after the closure of the CIRP. Now, that's a big question. And I'll deal with that certain aspect. I'll tell you what is the history behind it. And then, of course, we will have to debate whether the proposal to be given by the IBBI is to be accepted or some changes can be asked for it. And last one is relating to the significant difference in valuation. We are all aware that, you see, if two valuers give valuation and their values differ significantly, the word used is significantly different, then of course it will require the appointment of the third valuer. Now, what is the meaning of the, you see, significantly different? That is not clear to us. So here IBBI wants to put in a specific meaning of the word significant different. And of course, I must also share with you that I also conducted a similar kind of a, you see, background discussion in one of this 2 to 3 days back. There, even there was a difference between the IPs also, that what is the meaning of significant difference. But anyhow, be that as it may, it's always welcome that different opinions do come. Now, friends, let us look at the first part, which is talking about the substantial delays which are occurring, substantiating the default. Now, why IBBI wants this? Let's understand the background. Friends, the statistics is also given in IBBI's consultation paper. In 2021, 153 applications were admitted under Section 9. In fact, they are saying the data is available. Maybe there may be more, but let us take the ballpark figure of 153. Now, the average time taken for admitting Section 9 application, you will not believe your ears, friend, it was 468 days. From the date of filing to admission, it took 468 days on an average. And 54 applications, they took less than 1 year. 84 applications were decided within 1 to 2 years. And 15 applications were decided and they took more than 2 years to decide. Now, in 2021-22, 207 such applications were there. And now again, you will not believe your ears, friends. The average time taken in 2021 was 650 days. Yes, I have said it correctly, friends, 650 days. Less than 1 year, 39 applications, 1 to 2 years, 86 applications, and more than 2 years were 82 applications. Now, that's not the sweetest part. That's not what is desirable under IBBI. Idea is time bound. It starts from the admission and goes up to the CIRP completion. I think everything is to be time bound. So now here, what is the suggestion? Because I believe the IBBI is considering a fact that all these delays primarily are occurring because of the substantiation of default is not easy in case of operational creditors. It takes time because a lot of evidence is to be filed, then a lot of arguments take place, and therefore it takes time to admit such applications. Of course, probably they will have to discount the period of COVID and also the lack of infrastructure as NCLT, but be that as it may, we are only talking about substantiating the default. Now, what is the proposal? The proposal, my dear friends, is, and of course, once I deal with this proposal, then we will have a discussion on this, and then we will move on to the second one. The proposal is that the OCs which are registered under the GST Act, right? All OCs are not required to be registered, but those who are registered, they say they should be required to furnish, and I mean, they are required to furnish to the GST department the details of the sales and purchases of goods, right? Along with the GST amount, and they have to file the GST returns. And they have filed two types of returns. One is known as GSTR1 and second is GSTR3B, which is of course a monthly self-declaration to be filed by a registered GST dealer. So now they are saying that while filing an application under Section 9, we want to change the, the law, or I mean the regulation, that look, these two documents, GSTR1 and GSTR3B, should be accompanying the application under Section 9, so that at least the proof of delivery of the goods, I mean the supply of the goods, not the delivery, supply of the goods is demonstrated. So there is no doubt about it. That is one proposal. The second is also there. They say as an IP, RP, when you become the RP, obviously you need to verify the claims. Now, verification of claims is also a toughest job, isn't it? Particularly in respect of operation creditors, whether the goods were delivered or not, whether the goods were supplied or not, just on the basis of the invoice, I don't think we can admit the claims, because we don't sometimes get the benefit of the books of account also. Rather, in 80% of the time, we don't get the books of account. So they are saying that along with the claim, the operational creditors, those who are registered with GST, they should also submit GSTR1 and GSTR3B. So this is the proposal in nutshell. Now let us discuss and debate. Number one, it should be on twofold, right? So what I'll do is I'll keep the field open. I'll speak less, and I would like my friends to speak more. But let's be very brief. Number one. Number two, what I want from you is on two aspects. A, do you agree that GSTR1, GSTR3B will serve the purpose? That is one part of it. Two, if not, or even if it serves, what additional document you would like, not only from GST department, but maybe any other document which will demonstrate A, that there is a default, and B, obviously that will also justify that operational creditor has a claim towards the corporate debtor. So these are the two aspects, friends. Now I'm opening the, you can open your mics one by one. Just speak and be very brief on that aspect, right? Yes. Anyone wants to share make their suggestions? Those who are GST experts, please contribute whether GSTR1 and GSTR3B are enough documents.
No, sir. GSTR2 and 2B is also required.
You are saying GSTR, what is the document?
GSTR 2A and 2B.
Okay, can you explain for the benefit of everyone, what are these documents?
Yes, sir. GSTR 2B reflects that the supplier has made the payment towards that GST liability.
Achha, that is GST liability payment. Okay. Achha, okay. Yeah. Why you are saying it? I can guess that look, you may file GSTR1 and then you may also file another return, because the goods might have been returned. So the GST actual payment is not done. So therefore it is not corroborated with the GST payment. Is that the idea, sir?
Yes, sir. In fact, GSTR1 belongs to supplies you have made to your customer. Okay. That data doesn't show that the return is liability is paid off. This just further information that you have accepted the invoice, you have made the supply, but you didn't make the payment. Payment can be made through 3D after setting of the supplier's invoices.
Okay.
suppliers GST.
I just want to understand. Now, supposing an operational creditor who has supplied goods to the corporate debtor, he submits a claim. Now, whether he deposits GST or not, are we concerned about his deposit of GST? Supposing he does not deposit, he will face music.
Sir,
So
one day it will create a liability for the corporate debtor.
Acha, okay. Can you explain how does it create a liability on the corporate debtor? Can you elaborate on that?
Print out. Print out.
Okay, Sonny sir, can you hear us? Okay.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Can you explain, sir, why it will become the liability of the corporate debtor?
Sir, can I speak in English?
हाँ हाँ हिंदी में बोलिए सर कोई दिक्कत नहीं हम ट्रांसलेट कर देंगे for our other friend.
Not a problem. I can also speak in English. Not an issue. Sir, issue is मतलब ये in fact जो procedure है, once you have made the supply, you have to submit GSTR1. उसमें हम लोग किसको क्रेडिट पास ऑन करना है, प्लस जो B2C सप्लाई होती है उसकी सारी डिटेल्स में सबमिट कर देता है ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ दैट GSTR1. जो सामने जो हमारा कस्टमर है, he will get the credit through GSTR2B.
अच्छा, okay, I got your point. Okay, I understand. Okay. अच्छा, now one more thing, sir. You said that GSTR 2A and 2B should also be a part of it. Okay, I don't think there should be any problem. Of course, we will have the opinion of the other participants also. But tell me one thing, sir. GSTR 1, you said it is a proof of supply. It is a supply of goods, right?
Yeah.
But now, whether those goods were received by the corporate debtor or not, how does GSTR 1 proves that? Because you see, I might have supplied you. I've created a bill in my office and I've shown GSTR 1, but whether those goods were delivered to the corporate debtor or not, how is this proved?
Sir, it's a debatable question because there are some certain restrictions on e-way bill, that is bill of supply. So in some cases, in some states, there are some threshold limits कि 50,000 के नीचे का ई-वे बिल आपको भेजने की जरूरत नहीं है. 50 से ज्यादा करते हैं तो ई-वे बिल आपको कंपलसरी है, जो कि ऑनलाइन पोर्टल से जनरेट किया जाता है. कुछ स्टेट्स में 1 लाख से ज्यादा का है. तो ये थोड़ा सा एक टिपिकल पॉइंट है जो प्रूफ ऑफ डिलीवरी को पूरी तरह से मैं सजेस्ट नहीं करता कि ई-वे बिल भी 2A 2B के साथ में मैंडेटरी होना चाहिए.
Okay, see, I'll tell you. Now we are looking for acknowledgement of the invoice and the receipt of the goods by the corporate debtor. Now that
So
is
what we do is before we send any document, we do a physical reading. उसमें सब errors नहीं मिलते.
सर उसमें भी प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि गुड्स और सर्विसेज में प्रूफ ऑफ डिलीवरी का कोई सीन नहीं बनता है.
Okay, so okay, we have understood. Now what I'm asking is from all our friends is that look, that is the contentious issue. Number one, whether the goods were supplied were delivered to the corporate debtor or not, that's a very important question. Two, whether they were defective goods or not, whether the goods were returned or not. तो अब ये चीजें कहाँ से पता चलेंगी सर? जब तक ये इंक्वायरी नहीं होगी, I don't think we are in a position to admit the claim or even the adjudicating authority is able to substantiate the claim. Because there are certain...
Can I say something, sir? Sir, can I say something?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Sir, I am always a firm believer that कि GST को link नहीं करना चाहिए, because GST अगर ये लोग कर देते हैं, पैसे आने से छोड़ दो, before even getting the money, they are supposed to pay to the department the money based on the sale. So most of the OCs struggle and they say that they have a cash outflow. Apart from the original principal, they are also paying taxes to the government. And just because you have filed, now with the recent circular, if I understand correctly, unless the other person has given the input, the credit to you, even though you have supplied, you cannot take any benefit of that. So GST, linking GST to any of this thing is a complication, especially for creditors who are genuine creditors. So
no, you see the point. Your point is very valid in terms of the operational creditors. But here we are not looking at the interest of the OCs. Like we are going to make the life of the RP or the adjudicating authority easier. Like if more documents can you see come along with the claim which justifies or substantiates the default or the claim itself, I think that is better. So what is the harm if as an RP you receive these documents?
Typically lorry receipt, whenever a transport happens,
Uh-huh.
okay, transport receipts are and e-way bill system anyhow is there with you. If those can be supplied, that's the
Okay.
best.
Okay, so let's say this thing. A,
Sir.
GSTR documents, number one. Number two, you can say the lorry receipt or the truck receipt, and C, the proof of delivery also, right? We should also make it mandatory to submit the proof of delivery, isn't it? I mean, there should be some acknowledgement of the goods by the corporate debtor. Now, otherwise, as an IP who has come after say 2 years or 3 years of that goods being received, how do I know whether the goods were received or not? So there should be some mechanism.
Sir, can I submit something?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Sir, for filing the Section 9 application, we are required to give 10 days notice under Section 8.
Correct.
And when we give Section 8 notice, then if the creditor refutes the claim, then there must be some reason for that. As already discussed, when the goods are supplied, there is always a receipt of goods by the buyer. And it is available with the seller, number one. Number
Correct.
two, an invoice is raised and it is booked in the financial accounts, both by the seller as well as by the buyer. So invoice will be there on both the sides. Third, I cannot, lodge a, claim against false supply. It amounts to a fraud. If I am a seller and if I demand some money from a creditor, whereas I have not supplied the goods, it will be a fraudulent transaction in that case, and I will be punished under the criminal law, right? So the point is, whenever the Section 8 notice is issued, first that notice has to be served. There will be a response. If there is a dispute, then dispute will be there. And after the dispute is settled, then only we go for Section 9 application, not before that.
No, Mittalji, your point is valid. We are not disputing that process. But what we are saying is, let us see, as far as the fraud is concerned, let me share with you the recent judgment of NCLAT. Now, one of the creditors filed an application. NCLT New Delhi bench said, this is a case of fraud and forgery. You have submitted, there is a collusion between the person and the corporate debtor. So therefore, we are not admitting the application, despite the fact that Section 8 notice was issued by you. Now, when they appealed before the NCLAT, and the NCLAT judgment has come recently, just 2 days back. Now, NCLAT has upheld the judgment of NCLT. They say that, look, there seems to be a case of fraud because in the invoice, there is no GST number. So let us understand, friends, that just because there is a demand notice does not mean the transaction cannot be a fraudulent transaction. Even then it can be a fraudulent transaction. So that's a different aspect. We're not discussing that. All we are discussing is how to make the life of the adjudicating authority easier as well as the RPs easier, so that the verification of claim is expedited.
Sir, let me submit one or two more points. Once I have supplied the goods, there is a lorry receipt or the acknowledgement of receipt of goods. Secondly, sir, let me complete. There is a sale and purchase order which is exchanged between the parties. Thirdly, once the invoice is raised and it is not paid, I issue some reminders to the buyer that you have not paid this money to me.
Just hang on for 1 second. You're absolutely right. But are these documents mandatory to be submitted? That's what we are discussing today, sir.
This is already there in the law, sir. This is already defined in the regulation. In the CRP regulation, these documents are already defined.
I don't think these things are mentioned in the CRP regulations, but anyhow.
Yeah, it is very much there, sir. It is very much there. Not all the documents, but some of the documents are already there.
Can we ask for confirmation of account at the time of filing of this CRP application?
Soni sir, confirmation of accounts, we can say if available. Yeah, because you see, it may or may not be available, right? So we can definitely suggest that if available, then it should also be furnished along with the claim or along with the demand notice or maybe along with the application. Yes, that's a good suggestion.
Yes. Sir, I want to add one thing. when we file the application under Section 9, definitely the court will review all the things and people will submit all their issues related to that.
Correct.
After that, the situation problem comes when the RP get appointed and he has to verify the claim. I have only one suggestion, that we can use this IU, information utility, and at the time when the first time we as a respondent CD file any reply, he should be required to file his books of account as on the date of filing of his reply, which and also this accounting or some stock reports along with the bank statement with the IU, which will be available to inspect by the NCLT or IBBI only. And later on, when the case gets admitted, then it should be available to RP only to review the things and get check all the things properly. So the only issue comes with us only at the time of under Section 9 application when we the court has to decide the this issue. For rest of the other creditors, the claims can be verified easily if things can be managed. Now, I think, yes, there are some frauds also. We are not getting the data from some of the corporate debtors. So that will be the rest 8-10% cases. But in other cases, we will get a very much benefit and help to do our CIRP.
Okay, Jitendra ji, see, I'll tell you, I don't want to, contradict anything what you say, but let us understand one thing. As far as IU is concerned, it is not mandatory for operating creditors. Number one, we are talking only about OCs. We are not talking about FCs here. Now, if we make it mandatory for OCs, then there is another problem. Then there is a problem of plenty. Now,
sir, it's not. Sir, it's not for.
Just hang on. I mean, we are not debating or argument. We are just. Yeah. Now, if in a corporate debtor gets, say 1,000 invoices. Now 1,000 invoices will go to the IU, and this corporate debtor will have to confirm to the IU. So IU will that is not advisable for the operational creditors right now. Maybe large value transactions, say maybe 10 crores more or 100 crores more, that is all right. But not every transaction of 50,000 rupees can go to IU. Please understand this. Number two, now your suggestion of books of accounts with the corporate debtor, well, that is also not possible. And let me tell you why. Somebody files a false application and I have to disclose my books of accounts to that fellow, which are a privileged document. Why should I share my books of account to the opposite party? So therefore, it is also not an advisable thing. But once a CIRP starts, obviously, then the directors have to submit to the RP. That is what it is also mentioned there. Now, the third aspect, which our friend was saying that these documents are mandatory. Now, I was just looking at the regulation. Now, these documents simply say that you have to attach a copy of the invoice. It does not say that you have to attach the proof of delivery. So, copy of invoice is not approved. Copy of invoice to maine apne ghar pe bana li. Now, how is that approved? Therefore, IBBI thought that, look, there is a government document, which is GSTR 1, and there is a government document written, GSTR 3B. So, they should be made mandatory. According to me, if you ask me, I don't think there is any problem if this new document comes to the RP or to the adjudicating authority. At least some proof is better than no proof, isn't it? We are only discussing whether we should ask for some other additional document which is available. That is the suggestion, which the proposal, which the IBBI is also looking at it. So just, I'm opening that for everyone. Please unmute yourself, be very brief so that you give your suggestions. Yes, sir. Anyone who wants to contribute?
The only thing is, I just want to ask, sir, if at the time of adjudicating authority to decide an application, if these are mandatory, GSTR 1 and 3B,
right?
Once it gets admitted, will this be the basis for RP to admit all OC claims?
No, that is not. See, please understand. Adjudicating authority, I think if you have understood the concept, they only look at whether it crosses the threshold limit of 1 crore. They are not admitting the claim pi to pi. That is the job of the, for admission, they have to be done by the job of the RPs there.
Correct.
Like supposing the banker 360 crore, they don't bother about whether it's 360 crore, but it's more than 1 crore, that's good enough for the, adjudicating authority.
Correct. The apprehension that I have is, if this is become the basis at the time of admission by adjudicating authority, GSTR records, and later on, if this becomes part again for RP to admit claims, that's a challenge is what I'm saying. Many OCs may be missing out their genuine claims.
No, see, the point is, let's understand. This does not become the basis of admission of the claim. right? Please understand this. The admission of the application does not mean that he has proved his claim. No. Otherwise, there was no need of submitting his claim. The law also says that he has to submit the claim with proof. So if supposing he commits a fraud, right, at the time of the admission of application, and he was not able to demonstrate, because as I said, like you have supplied the good, GSTR 1 is on record, but later on the goods were returned and you filed another return, but you did not disclose that fact. The goods to return bhi ho sakte hai na. So then what will happen? So therefore, he can befool the adjudicating authority one time, but he can't befool the RP, because at the end of the day, RP will ask for so many other documents. So this is what I want to understand, because I'm not a GST expert, that what are the other documents which should accompany? Like supposing if the goods are returned, what is the return form which is there? Should it not also be accompanied along with this, so as to show that no return was given in this?
Generally, e-way bills are the basis for transport.
Okay.
In case of returns, the credit invoice will be there. Credit note will be there.
No, credit note is between two parties.
Yeah,
I'm saying, but it will also be disclosed to GST department somewhere to get the benefit of the GST which is paid earlier. I think there must be some document.
GST department can only be used if someone is actually filing the specific details. So typically, not everyone does it, and invariably that's why there's a huge mismatch between input and output.
Okay.
So as you rightly said, if someone is able to produce it, it is a fantastic document.
Right.
But if it becomes the sole basis, it becomes a challenge.
No, it is not becoming sole basis. Let's not get into that. I mean, IBBI is not saying that this will become the basis of admission of claim. This is only a collateral document, some additional document. Okay. Okay. So any other suggestions, friends? Otherwise, we can move on to the next.
STR documents are supporting only the supply of the goods, genuinity of the supply, that is there. But as far as the subsequent development, whether the goods has been returned or not, that can be covered by the in the application by the affidavit only from the operational data that the goods has not been returned back by the corporate data. That can be added, because otherwise the corporate data may not be available fully for response, because they are responding or all those things are there. So there can be an affidavit by the operational creditor himself that the goods has not been subsequently returned back to them, and there is no dispute. As far as the dispute is concerned, that is corporator is going to protest whether there is a dispute or not, the supply quality is out there or not, and particularly before giving the Section 8 notice, the dispute must be of the prior period. That document is to be provided by the corporate data. So as far as the supply part is concerned, that can be justified by the GSTR documents. But as far as the other corroborated documents, then can be by way of affidavit or by way of the evidences provided by the corporate data. That should be the only things as far as regarding the supply by the operational creditor, as well as the point of view of the corporate data. That is the limiting thing which can be given. If the corporate data is not available to give their response on the basis of the GSTR filing as well as the affidavit by the operational creditor, that should have been admitted. That is my submission.
Okay. So you are saying affidavit, just a second. So affidavit for the goods not returned should also accompany the application and also accompany the claim form. That's what you are saying?
Yes.
Okay. Good suggestion. Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Sir, one small suggestion. The GSTR return, yes, it is there. It's a proof for supply.
Correct.
That the rejection, if the company rejects, then if it is uploaded to the information utility, that means that if I do not object, that means whatever the GSTR return whatever I have stated GSTR return is accepted. So it's out of box thinking. It will show that that I am not. Somebody can verify that I have objected and I have returned the goods. Otherwise, it is deemed to have been accepted. So the numbers will be very less for rejections.
Actually, what I'm feeling today is like, you see, we have information utility. We had, you see, large banks, then these small banks came. So I believe there will be a small information utility now for these small creditors. I think that's not a bad idea, because you see, at the end of the day, look, what is the default? Default can be proved from a credible evidence. Like information utility is a good evidence. Like I've given you a loan of 10 crores, you have not repaid. It's a proof. I mean, you can't deny that. So for creditors, also operational creditors, I think there has to be some thinking, right? Something like you see operational information utility, which where massive transactions go there. But don't you think it will be a duplication of GST, you see, things also? So those are other aspects which one has to look into it. Because then small operational creditor, he has to file GST return also. Then you'll have to inform the information utility also, pay some fees also. I don't think that is possible for the small suppliers to do that. Anyhow, that may be.
Sir, I want to submit something.
Yeah, Sandeep ji, go ahead.
Sir, regarding GSTR1, so let's say we were talking about the return of goods. So let's say goods are returned by the purchaser back to supplier. So those very details also are required to be included or are required to be disclosed in GSTR1 itself against a credit note.
Okay, so therefore one document is good enough for the supply
yes.
return. Okay. I was not aware of that. That's what I was asking. So it's good that you have clarified that doubt. So that's all right. Okay.
So GSTR reversal has to be actually disclosed in the GSTR1 itself, and bill reference number is also required to be given. So against which bill actually, which supply bill this return is there.
Acha, Soni Saab has recommended that GSTR 2A and 2B should also be accompanied. So do you agree with that suggestion, or you have some different opinion?
So that is actually, sir, regarding the payment of GST liability only. I think that is not required. So let's say now, as I'm saying, so if in case the goods are returned, so if those are disclosed in GSTR1 and a proper credit input tax reversal is there, and a proper bill reference is also there against which bill the supply is made to the buyer. So I think that will suffice.
Okay, so our consensus is that this document is fine, GSTR 1 and 3B. Now, let us look at from the, just 1 second, sir. Just let us look at from the operational creditor point of view. Now, supposing I am an operational creditor dealing with so many businesses and so many supplies. Now, if I give my GSTR 1 return, which will include supplies to everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you want me to disclose everything to the corporate debtor? I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking from wearing the hat of the OC now. Should I be exposed to this information to the public, because it's not a public information otherwise?
So like sir, you are saying that adjudicating authority, so they would be requiring certain documents to find out whether certain supply is made or a certain return is there against those supplies. So just to actually find out that whether the claim of the OC is legitimate or not.
Right.
So just to actually substantiate that very thing, so I think this will be disclosed to the adjudicating authority. So I think this can be.
No, sir. When you disclose, when you move an application, the copy of the application goes to the CD also, na? The entire application. So this is a part of the application now. So it will be in the hands of the CD. So CD will get to know what business the OC is doing, how many transactions he is doing, to whom he is supplying at what rate.
So my submission here is that the OC can provide the extracts of that very GST1. So maybe not the full maybe disclosure of the entire GST1 return.
Okay, I was just looking from the OC's angle. I mean, I'm just, because we have to look from both sides. It's not from one side. Okay, friends, before we close the discussion, I hope everyone agrees that GSTR 1, 3B are mandatorily required. Friends, can I request everyone to please mute themselves?
I want to have 1 minute. In support of the GSTR 2B.
Okay, I think there was some background music or sounds were coming. So, okay. So is there any difference of opinion, or still somebody wants to add on to this so that we can move on to the next portion? Yeah.
Yeah, I was only referring to, if you have a GSTR 2B, I think earlier it should be 2A, that actually confirms if the corporate debtor has taken the credit of the supply, then that would get reflected in 2B or the GSTR 2A 2B. So that's a big proof. So if the corporate debtor wants to deny, he just has to showcase that he has not taken the credit. If he had taken the credit, the supply is genuine then. That means he has accepted the supply.
Okay.
So my contention, sorry, my contention here is, so if we talk about the operational part of it, so sometimes what happens is in big corporates, so people do take credit of the this very tax, but afterwards, while they put their material into the production, so let's say, so there is a lead time of putting the material into production, or let's say 15 days or 20 days or 1 month. So after a month or so while that very material is put into production, sometimes they find out that the material is faulty. So then they return the material.
Okay. Fine. I think you see, I'll just share the amendment which is proposed so that at least we understand that. So here, regulation 7(2)B, it is proposed now that saying copies of GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B under the provisions of relevant GST Act, read with relevant rules, along with a copy of the e-way bill wherever applicable. And then they say that this will not be applicable for those goods and services which are not covered under the GST, which is natural, right? Or those who are within the limits not requiring registration. So now the big question again remains is whether we want to add GSTR 2A and 2B here or not, because some people are in favor and some people saying that will not serve the purpose. So anyhow, I'm not too sure about it, but well, I would say more the merrier. I mean, how does it matter? If as an IP, I get more documents to demonstrate, I think that will really sort my problems also. Okay. So let's go to the second part of it now, friends, which is relating to a very important aspect. And that aspect is talking about part 2, facilitating the information availability. Now, what is the issue out here? The issue is that there are COC members. And in a large case, of course, they will be bankers. Now, those bankers, when they provide loan, they take all types of documents and all types of precautions. So there is a sanction letter, there is a approval letter, and then all the documents are furnished by the corporator. Now, once the approval sanction is given, then once the loan is disbursed, then even on a continuous basis, now there are certain documents which are required to be furnished by the corporate debtor to these bankers. IBBI is not talking about that. IBBI is saying that, look, bankers generally get, you see, the valuation reports, because before granting loans, obviously they need to value. 2, they also conduct periodically certain kinds of audits, which could be forensic audit, which could be stock audits, which could be concurrent audit, whatever audits they conduct. They say that, look, as a member of the COC, it should be their duty to furnish all these documents to the RP or IRP, because who is struggling? Supposing where the directors are not cooperating. So at least if the valuation report is on record, he knows whether his valuers have valued it correctly or not. If there is a huge difference, of course, then he can also take a call. 2, if reports like forensic reports have already been submitted to the bankers, and if that report is given to the IRP or RP, now that makes his job easier, isn't it? So that is the second aspect which is mentioned out there. So now, friends, let us debate on these 2 aspects, that look, whether COC members should be mandatorily, you see, asked to submit the valuation report as well as the stock audit report, the stock audit or forensic reports to the IRP or RP, because the availability of the information will be there. According to me, of course, there should not be any problem, but I leave it to the house here to give their suggestions, maybe something more than this. Like I submitted that some quarterly reports are also submitted by the corporate debtors. Why not those reports? So any suggestions, those who have worked in banking or those who have the experience of the corporate world, what kind of reports go from the CD to the bankers? I think let's debate on that. So I'll request if people can participate and give their suggestions on this. Okay.
Sir, I can submit a.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Sir, as soon as the bank, any account is red flagged by the bank, so
Okay.
maybe first a red flag is there, then actually a forensic audit is mandatory in case of a red flag account. So that very forensic audit, so naturally a detailed audit is done, and lot many information is actually disclosed in that very report.
Acha, Sandeep ji, are you a banker?
No, I am not a banker. But I have done various audits of even the SMA branches, so SAM branches.
Now, I just want to know one thing, like from your experience, are the bankers reluctant to share these kind of forensic reports? If yes, why? What are the reasons?
Yes. So reluctant means that they do share these very reports with the statutory auditors. So like as statutory auditors, we do audits of these very SAM branches or stress asset management branches. So they do share, but otherwise, so they are reluctant because these very reports contain a lot of information about the CD. So like a lot many transactions, fraudulent transactions, or maybe the I would say like in case of willful defaulter, a lot of diversion of funds or siphoning off of funds. Those kind of transactions are disclosed in these very reports. So so they do declare certain those very CDs as willful defaulters, or they do declare those very CDs like fraud definition is there, or a willful defaulter definition is there as per the RBI circulars. So so those very reports contain those kind of transactions.
Okay, so supposing this is made mandatory in regulation, so it's a good thing, right?
I think it is a good thing, very good thing, sir.
It's a good thing, right? But only thing is, it may put the bankers on the back foot, right? Because they had the report, what action did they take against the CD or the promoters, why they were sitting over that report. I mean, those questions may be asked. That is all right. But
that is why, sir. That is why they are reluctant. Moreover, so these very reports also prove at some point that there might be connivance of the banking officials, the bank officials with the CD.
Right. Now I understand. Okay, any of our other friends want to contribute on this?
Yes, sir. The point is well taken. Even in our case also, the bank, just before we took over, I took over as IRP. The forensic audit was done by one of the big fours. Bankers is a leading bank, refused to share the forensic audit report. They said, you do the transaction audit report and find out what is what, but we will not share the report.
Okay, but now if it is made mandatory, then it will make your job easier.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, so therefore this is a good suggestion. Like
it's a good suggestion, sir.
Yeah, what is the proposal? I think I'm sharing on the screen. It says CIRP regulations be amended to impose an obligation on the COC with regard to providing all the relevant information. Now, mark the word all the relevant information they possess in terms of the assets of the CD from valuation exercises or stock audits, the relevant extents from the transaction of forensic audits to IRP, RP in a timely manner. Now, friends, here there is only a small catch. Here the IBBI is writing the word relevant extracts of the transaction, not the full report. Do you think it should be only an extract or it should be a full report? Because at the end of the day, what is given to me, whether it is relevant or not, who is going to decide about that? So what is your opinion on this? Whether it should be full report or only relevant extracts?
Full report.
Sir, it should be full report.
Full report.
Because bankers are always telling this is their privileged documents. So full report will give the full picture. So full report is required.
तो आप privilege तो नहीं रहा ना सर, अगर रेगुलेशन में आ जाएगा
आप लिख देंगे सर तो privilege नहीं रहेगा.
ये हो सकता है कि ये जो consultation paper है, when the bankers discuss among themselves, they will raise their objections now.
Maybe.
Okay.
Sir, I have some suggestion here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, in fact, maybe apart from this very report of forensic audit, so there are certain other reports which are always there with the bankers. So one of them is RBIA. So RBIA is Reserve Bank Inspection Audit Report, which is usually done on basically all the CDs which are NPA accounts. And other than that, you talked of stock audit report. So even the stock audit report provides a lot of details about whether the physical stock was there or not, whether the debtors were okay or not. So those very reports will provide a lot of first-hand information to RPs. So I think those should be made mandatory.
Sandeep ji, tell me one thing. Like supposing corporate debtor also submit some quarterly management system. I mean, some reports are submitted by most of the.
Yes. So some of the banks call it QIS or maybe quarterly information system or quarterly management system or maybe with other names, a lot of other names. So, but quarterly reports are mandatory in all the accounts which are in which exposure is more than 5 crores.
So obviously we're talking about these people only. So QIS or QMS should also be made mandatory. We can suggest that.
Yes, sir. Certainly.
We should ask for this one, monthly stock statements, which contains debtors list, creditors list, and stock.
Achha, this is submitted monthly?
Yeah, every month, yes, sir.
Along with a DP report, because they have to take
Yes,
out
yes,
the,
yes, for DP calculation.
Okay, for DP calculation. Okay, this is also a good suggestion. I think that is also wonderful. Okay.
And also we can include a tax audit report and tax returns, because some of the cases we find that they don't file for years, 4 years, 5 years. In one of the cases,
here, Mr. Ravichandran, we are talking about the
Yeah,
bank to give the information. So tax audit report, does it go to the bankers? I mean, I'm just wondering.
So the bankers, they collect actually. They collect. The advantage is that the tax audit report presupposes that there is a books of accounts is there. Because
Sir,
the form
if you will have,
BCA,
yeah.
Okay, yes, sir,
Sir,
go ahead.
if you will have the MSOD, QIS, QMS, then fraud detection, this buffet transaction detection will be very easier for the RP.
MSOD kya hota hai, sir? What is MSOD?
This monthly stock statement they are giving, what is the change and this and that.
Okay. अच्छा, ये सब चीजें आ जाए तो आप you are thinking that
Sir,
job will be
Sir,
more.
जो
MSOD means
transaction-
monthly select operational data.
Right,
अच्छा,
right.
Monthly select
Operational data.
Operational data.
आप बैंकर से बैंक से लगते हैं सर?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
तो आप
Sir, I have one more suggestion.
correct.
This monthly stock statements along with the book data statements, financial audited financial statements, the credit it will be submitted to the bankers by the borrowers. So because many times getting audited financial statements is also a challenge for the IP.
Correct.
So whatever audited financial statements are available with all the creditors for various years, that also should be made part of their information to be submitted.
Okay.
Sir,
Sir,
RBI
one more session, sir. Whenever a valuation report is there, that should be accompanied with a legal title search report.
Legal title search report. Now that's a good suggestion. Right.
That gives all the document numbers also, registration numbers, documents, and flow of title, everything will give.
Because that becomes easier, that where the
Easier.
is located, so that title deeds can be obtained or duplicate copies can be obtained. Yeah, that's
Yes,
a
sir.
very
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
fantastic. Sir, we want to hear more from you.
sir, overseas investment, sir. Overseas details about overseas investment, APR.
Okay. Very good. So I'm just noting it down. Of course, we'll definitely give this suggestion to IBBI.
As
Yes.
Overseas investment in our
operational data information is concerned, there should be a time period prior to the account become NPA, because otherwise, for how many period they will give? Suppose the account was NPA 3 years back. So if there is no quarterly statement during the last 2 years, then bank will say there is no statement. But that should be the period prior to the account become NPA for the previous to that 2 years. That should be the period in my view.
Okay. No, that's a good observation, because supposing the company was not functioning for last 2 years, because it takes 2 years time to admit the application also, then the bank will say nothing has been submitted for last 2 years. So that's a good suggestion. Or we can say latest available with them. I mean, previous 2 years to that, what is the latest which is available to them? So that would be also a good idea. But prior to NPA is a good suggestion. I think that's a good one. Okay. So friends, before concluding, anyone wants to chip in? I think that this is the right time now. We've got good suggestions. Okay. So let's move on to the third thing now, which is a very, very important aspect, that is the dealing with the avoidance applications after closure of the CIRP. Friends, here I would like to explain a little bit of it, and then we will move forward in this. I think most of us are aware that there is a Venus recruiter's judgment of Delhi High Court, right? Now that judgment actually has created certain problems for the RPs and as well as for the NCLTs. Now, what that judgment says, it is actually on two aspects. There is some confusion also in that judgment, which I'll explain. But let us understand what is the ratio of that judgment. Number one, it says that RP, once the CIRP period is over, now wears the hat of a former RP, and he becomes functus officio, which means that he is not entitled to pursue the avoidance application. Now he can't fight. This is one thing which is mentioned there. Number one. Number two, even with respect to NCLTs, I don't know how this is going to be overcome, but this is also there in the judgment that NCLT, after the approval of the resolution plan, also becomes functus officio and cannot decide this application. Now, this is a major legal issue. Now, and then there are two more aspects which are related to it. Two problems. One, who is going to pursue the avoidance applications after the plan is approved or the CRP period is over? Because RP will not like to do it unless he's paid. Why should he spend his time, money and effort and also the legal fees? Number one. Number two, but he has to pursue because he has filed it. Now, the second aspect is who gets the fruits of that particular forensic audit? I mean, the avoidance transaction application. Supposing, say, 100 crores are recovered. Now, who gets that money? Right? So these are the two aspects. So let me also explain in one more aspect that pursuing the application. Now, who are the players? The players are the former RP or the RP. Supposing CRP period is over, plan is approved. Second, there may be a monitoring committee or implementation committee or supervision committee, whatever we may call it. Should that be the responsibility of that committee to pursue? Third, whether it should be taken, I mean, any financial creditor or COC should take the lead for following that application, pursuing that. And fourth could be whether successful resolution applicant should follow that. So there are four players in this. Now, what the IBBI is suggesting here is, and that is also coming out from Venus Recruiter's judgment. Now, in the same breath, on the one hand, Venus Recruiter says that IRP, if he is wearing the hat of the former RP, he becomes functus officio, he cannot carry forward, he cannot pursue. But in the next sentence, in para 64 or 63, again, the same sentence, it is written that if it is provided in the resolution plan itself, that who is going to pursue it or authority is given to the RP, then it is fine. Otherwise, it is not fine. I saw some dichotomy in the judgment, but be that as it may, it's a High Court judgment, we have to follow that. So now the point which we are getting from there is that if the resolution plan provides that who is going to pursue this application, then it is fine. Otherwise, it is not fine. So now here comes the proposal of the IBBI also. IBBI also says, and they want to amend Regulation 38. You know what is Regulation 38? Mandatory contents of the resolution plan. So they want to add clause number C there by saying that resolution plan should indicate who is going to pursue this application. In fact, this consultation paper is only restricted to this. They are not talking about who gets the benefit of that. We can suggest to that, but let's first discuss this. Okay. So now they say that mandatorily plan should submit or should state who is going to pursue the avoidance transaction application after the resolution plan is approved, after the closure of the CIRP. That is the word they have used. So friends, I'm just opening this for the discussion now. Do you have any comments on this? Do you have any suggestions, or do you agree with the suggestion of the IBBI? Yes, sir. Anyone who wants to contribute on this particular aspect? Because actually IBBI is looking into the suggestions on this particular aspect. They are also confused because of this judgment particularly. So according to me, if you ask me, I think plan is the best thing which should provide. Why? The reason is very simple. There is a commercial wisdom of approval of the plan, and the plan is binding on everyone under Section 31, and it requires 66% majority. Well, that is fine. If plan is binding on everyone and plan says so and so person will follow up or pursue this application, I don't think there can be any objection to any quarter at that time. Right? This is the way to overcome probably the Venus Recruiter judgment. Of course, it is doubtful whether a regulation can override any judgment of the High Court or not, but be that as it may, if that comes, at least it solves the problem for the time being, at least for the NCLTs, because NCLTs are also confused. Now, the second part of the Venus Recruiter judgment is not being carried out. So I think we must make a suggestion to IBBI that Venus Recruiter judgment also says that NCLT becomes functus officio after the approval of the plan. So then who is going to decide? That is the basic question which needs to be addressed first, rather than pursuing. Pursue, so anyone can do it. But whether the person who is to decide, they also become functus officio, then who is going to decide about that? So I think that's one clarification probably we can mention in our suggestions, that look, please do this also. Otherwise, we may come out of one, but we may land into another. And the third part, which I just now mentioned, that who gets the fruit of that? So any suggestions on that? This money should belong to whom? Supposing 100 crores is recovered. Should it go to financial creditors? Should it go to all creditors? Should it go to all stakeholders? Or should it go to RA? I think the suggestions will come, it should come to RP. But anyway, RP cannot get that amount. So, yeah.
In my view, the resolution plan should contain all the aspects as far as the PUFE transactions are concerned. That on completion of the resolution plan, who should pursue the cases, number one.
Okay.
Who will do the expenditures?
Right.
Who will have the fruit of the for that aspect, he will definitely consider the commercial part of it. But before the resolution plan, considering having these details, the resolution applicant must have the sufficient information as far as the PUFE transactions are concerned. Until unless those things are there, if the information memorandum is not having the details of such transaction, or they are not supported with the details, it's difficult for the resolution applicant to consider the commercial aspects of it, because this is a commercial world. The resolution applicant will definitely would like to pursue those things, but until unless they are commercially deciding about that, they will not be able to do that. Secondly, that should be in consultation with the financial creditor, because they are the approving authority. So that must be maybe renegotiated after getting the initial plan, and it is in between the resolution applicant and the financial creditor that what will be the fate of these transactions. This is my submission.
Okay, I think good suggestions. The first aspect, of course, the second aspect which you mentioned is that these type of transactions must be disclosed to the RAs, so that they can take a call whether they want to pursue or they want to leave that, right? That's an important suggestion, because RAs are in dark. Actually, they don't know what type of these transactions are and what is the quantum of that. So I think that's a good suggestion, that information memorandum should contain this information, but it can contain that information only if by that time these transactions have been identified, right? Otherwise, it can be provided later on to the RAs, right? Idea is they should get that information. That is important. Okay. So I think these are good suggestions which you have given. I think they can definitely be considered. Yes, friends. Any other aspect?
Ashish, good evening. Amit here from Lucknow. May I?
Amitji, yes, go ahead.
So I have a little different view on this particular aspect, because the provisions regarding the avoidance transaction have played a very significant role in the evolution of the code by forcing the society to make a behavioral changes, and all those are visible in the past 5 years of success stories of insolvency and bankruptcy code. That is one. And we all know how difficult it has been to persuade these applications and convert these cases into a success story, because we know the inherent challenges. The inherent challenges are that RP has to form an opinion within 75 days. In next 40 days, he has to determine the transaction, and in next 15 days, he has to file the application, which is a absolutely difficult task. So even if I am saying the information memorandum contains the necessary information, a challenge is that, as you rightly observed, it is very difficult that it won't be possible that it would be containing full information. So RAs are likely to be in dark. B, I am saying even if RAs are aware why at all they will be interested in pursuing that application? Whose baby is that? They are so making a valuation excluding that they will be receiving anything, and they have been successful for that purpose also. So it is not their interest. Of course, there can be certain cases where the commercial interest is also involved therein, and that valuation can also be included in their part. But logically, it does not give me a very sound belief that it is possible that they will be considering the risk and reward and the time value of money, considering all the factors. It is very unlikely logically. So I am suggesting something little different, which IBBI should consider, because I fully believe that this institution should be developed. And why it should be developed? Because in many cases, the IBBI has been pushing to reduce the timeline. Even they have been working out for the new models, for the PRP, pre-packaged insolvency, the timeline is even small. For individual insolvency, the timeline is even small. And even in those cases, the avoidance transactions are there. So let us not just see it from one perspective. I am saying see it a larger perspective and holistically. If the time is going to be reduced further, do we really think that insolvency professional is going to do justice with these applications? I am having my own doubts. I am saying, why can't we explore a possibility of developing a separate institution, maybe a wing of IBBI? I'm not saying IBBI should do that, but I am saying something, a separate institution which can be developed to take care of these cases. As and when the office of resolution professional becomes functus officio, this will bring a discipline in the society, because the people who are wrongdoer, they know today very well that their fight is only for 180 plus 90 days. After 270 days, this application is no one's ownership, and this application will fall flat over a period of time. So his fight is in the NCLT. We have been doing n number of matters in defending, and I am successful only because the other party is not strong. The other person is not able to persuade the application in a right manner, and time is in our favor. So over a period of time, either resolution plan is approved and it is not pursued the way it should be. B, either liquidation is ordered and application also goes out of the interest of the people and is not pursued really. So to give a justice and continue with the same force of deterrence what it has created, once we create a separate institution and say that this will be the institution who will be taking care of these avoidance application once the office of RP becomes a functus officio. From there onward, he will carry it forward. I think it can be considered, although it's a little different thought, but maybe I'll just say ki if we can submit it to IBBI and they can explore it further, or colleagues can further supplement, because I personally feel we are not able to do justice with this particular aspect of avoidance transaction. Lot has to evolve. Unless it is institutionalized and it is given a due weightage, perhaps it is not happening. Even the transaction audits have not evolved the way it should be. With the limited resources, are we able to really turn out the findings? I'm having my own doubts. I'm still yet to come across a transaction audit report which is very conclusive. Majority of the time, transaction audit report is inconclusive, and that is the sole reason why the application is not successful in the adjudicating authority. So,
okay, Amit, yeah, can you conclude now, please?
Yeah, please. I have concluded.
Okay. So I think these suggestions are very, you can say, very long-term suggestions which you have given. Of course, no, there is no denial to that aspect. But all today, what we are discussing today is that, look, we are looking at a mechanism that who is going to pursue now. Now, that clarity is not there. So the IBBI wants that it should be mentioned in the resolution application, resolution plan itself. Because at the end of the day, in resolution plan, all parties, all the stakeholders are involved. Now, to answer your question that why RA will be interested, in fact, in one of our cases, RA says there is an application for 400 crores. He says, I'll pursue it because I'll get that money. So he's very happy about it. So it's not that all RAs are not interested. So they are interested because they say, okay, well, I'll take a chance. If 400 crore comes, I'll be the winner. Why should I give it to anyone else? So therefore, it's not that RAs will never be interested, but at the end of the day,
I'm only saying that we are leaving it to subjectivity of the views of RA, which is not correct.
No, see, subjectivity is fine. At the end of the day, see, this is an application. Now, who pursues, obviously, if one has to have a winning chance, they will have to pursue it, because the point is, if you institutionalize, then no one will be interested. Well, who is interested in that? So actually here, supposing the RP pursues it, or maybe COC pursues it, because if the money comes to them, or RA pursues it because the money comes to the corporate debtor, I think they are more interested in that kind of a thing, right? Isn't it? In fact, we are also, that there is a provision of not readily realizable assets, which also includes avoidance transaction, because somebody else can pursue it. So therefore, the market needs to be developed. I don't know whether it is to be institution alone only, or it has to be development of the market. Okay. So anyhow, sir, that's a good suggestion. So sir,
can I add, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, here in continuation of what we were discussing right now, can there not be a part in the IBBI saying that these few transactions can be assigned to somebody at a cost in the...
No, see, right now under CIRP, there is no provision, but particularly in respect of the liquidation, they can be sold as a non-readily realizable asset. They can be assigned to somebody. There is a special provision which is there. But in CIRP, since it is a company it's a running company, right? So therefore, the fruit should come back to the corporate debtor. The money went out of the company. Actually, according to me, if you ask me, the money should come back to the company. Now, whosoever is the owner, how does it matter? But if the COC decides that the money should be taken by the COC or distributed to the creditors, well, that's fine. I mean, I don't have any objection in that. So it depends upon the negotiation of the plan. That's what we are saying. All right. Okay. Yes, I think there are two.
The resolution, may I just make one point here?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
The resolution applicant will definitely evaluate, and depending on the chances of recovery, according to that, his plan will reflect the value in it.
Correct. Absolutely. You are absolutely.
So that will be factored in. So all that needs to be done is to be whether the resolution plan is considering that or without it, and the resolution amount will, accordingly be decided.
No, see, the point is IBBI right now is not looking at those suggestions. IBBI is only saying who is going to pursue. They are not talking about who gets the benefit. In fact, I am only saying this aspect should also be covered so that everything is clear on this. Right now, IBBI is only saying, okay, who is going to pursue should be mentioned in the resolution plan. That is what their suggestion is, right? Okay, so now I think Mr. Devang Sampath and Dr. Vichitra Narayan, I think yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir. My point is that bone of contention is that this is a very basic question: who is the beneficiary from the transaction? As you have rightly told, this should go to the company. Sometime COC member financial creditors are telling, no, this is my money. If it will be decided where money will go, who is the real beneficiary, then this question will be easily answered. Because then they will decide. So
correct.
That's what my points are. First, this decision should be there. Who is the real beneficiary? Then this issue will be automatically sorted. Thank you, sir.
So you are saying that supposing the COC says the money should come to us, obviously they will have to pursue it. That's what you are saying.
I think I have seen some judgment also. This money should go to financial creditor, even it is written otherwise in the resolution plan. Somewhere I have read.
Oh, that is 63 Moon's judgment of NCLAT.
Yeah, right, sir. So this is a base question, sir. Bone of contention is that.
No, that's all right. I think you are absolutely right. This is what we are saying, that both the questions should be determined on right now itself. Well, let's not leave it to the ambiguity or vagueness. Yes, Devangji, go ahead if you want to speak.
So I'm on a point which was already discussed, which is maybe we have discussed that financial creditors, there is some suggestion in the change of draft that they should provide all documents. Besides financial creditors, if you see erstwhile maybe suspended management and employees, the drafting over there is again different from financial creditors, where it is shall. But here it casts duties on IRP and RP first to ask for information in a format and then wait for few days. Maybe my suggestion is even over there, it should be a duty which should be cast on suspended management, just like financial creditors shall, to provide all information in a time-bound manner. Maybe 30 days could maybe put in, because you have to prepare IM in 45 days. And besides suspended management and employees, even other professionals associated with the company should also be included in the draft. So maybe you are the best person to help on drafting exactly. That were my concerns, and if any further fine tuning on that, I'll be grateful.
Okay. No, in fact, if you look at the draft which is given in the Annexure A, they are mentioned creditor shall provide. So this is basically shall. So creditors shall provide the financial statements. So everything is mandatory for them to provide. So I think that has already been taken care of in the proposed amendments which are there.
Sir, I just want to submit something here.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, like we discussed earlier, that certain documents which are available with the financial creditors should be made available to RP.
Correct.
So I think this will solve the entire problem. Like Mr. Abid Gupta said, that IM is not prepared in a proper way, or maybe the full details or the full information is not disclosed in IM. I think these very documents like the forensic audit report, or maybe some other RBIA report, or QoS, QMS, or maybe stock statements, I think all these reports, all these details will solve the problem at the very first instance. And if IM is prepared correctly, so value can be extracted from the RA in a proper way, and thereon financial creditors so we'll be happy about it. And afterwards of that, I think if this is provided in the resolution plan itself, so our RA will then take care of the entire thing, and the fees will be provided to RP.
Okay. No, that's all right. I mean, we are not denying that these should be made available. I think we have already discussed and debated on this particular aspect. So there is no quarrel that this information should be provided. Okay. See, that is there.
But this will streamline the entire process.
But the only difficulty is, sir, see, in IM, of course, Rajkamalji also mentioned that this data should be in IM. But the point is, IM is to be issued within by 54th day. Now, by 54th day, there is no finding, there is no determination of those particular aspects. So what we can say is that as and when that is determined, so that information should be passed on to the RS. Obviously, if that is passed on, only then they will be able to take a call while submitting the resolution. That's what I think Rajkamalji also wanted to say.
But sir, that's what I'm saying. All the documents available with the financial creditors will help RP take decision on that.
That's all right. That is not a problem, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Ashish, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
My concern is not the wording of financial creditors. It is for later, which is for employees and suspended past management. There the word shall is not there. If you see maybe what I have read, it doesn't cast a similar responsibility on past management and employees to provide data, as the word is used in financial creditors in the next point, next para of the point. So there may be my concern.
Got your point. So you are saying 4C, right?
Yes, sir, exactly.
I'll tell you why it has been drafted this way. That is my only take on this. Because in 19.2, you see, it has not been made mandatory. It simply says that whatever information is sought by the RP, so that should be provided by the personnel of the corporate debtor. Now, they want regulations to be in consonance with the section only. Now, if they provide shall, then somebody can challenge that these regulations override the law itself. So probably for that reason, but yes, your suggestion is good. I think we can say that instead of RP asking, we can make it mandatory for them to provide this kind of an information, right? I think that's a good suggestion. Okay. So friends, let's move on to the last point. I think we have discussed very elaborately. The last point talks about the significant difference. Now, if the two valuers report or the valuation report, which is taken by the bank. So now there can be 3 reports, right? Report taken by the bank, and then 2 reports by the registered valuers taken by the RP. Now, the question is, of course, we are talking about regulation 35, which deals with the 2 registered valuers report. Now there the word used is that if there is a significant difference. Now significant difference is not defined. Now there the IBBI is coming out with a formula. They say that if the difference of the two valuers is more than 25%, so 25% difference is equal to significant difference according to you see IBBI, that is what the proposal is. Now, do you think that 25% is all right? Or do you think that it should be lesser or it should be higher? What is your take? And number two, in your experience, like supposing you also get reports. Now, what you treat as a significant difference in your own personal experience? There might be one or two cases, right? In majority of the cases, there will not be a huge difference. But if there is a significant difference, what is the benchmark for you to treat it as a significant difference? So any suggestions from the bank side of view, point of view, or others, I think that will be welcome. Or do you think 25% is all right?
Sir, up to this date, 15% was the standard. In so many judgments we have also seen, and as a banker, former banker, this was, but 25 is very good in 2-3 ways, because this will time period will be reduced, because we have to take third valuation again. Some time period will go away, and when we are taking a 50% difference, there is a not much difference is coming. So this outer limit 25% will be quite okay, sir. This will sort out this problem of time period, and this will very speedy, because it is a remote possibility that there will be difference of 25% in two valuation, because the standards are the same.
Okay. Achha, Dr. Saab, ek cheez bataye. Now, supposing in IBA, because this consultation paper also says that IBA document talks about 15%. Jo aapne bhi 15% bola, bankers are considering 15% as a significant difference. But here IBBI is providing 25%. You are supporting 25% from the point of view of the timelines, right? Because otherwise it will consume more time to take another report. That's what you are saying. Okay. Friends, any other opinion? Or if you
so I have a point where the gross itself is huge, where you are talking of maybe 1,000 crore or something there. 25% will be a significant difference. So it should factor in both, in percentage as well as gross value. Some kind of a parity would be desirable.
Okay, so you are saying that we should suggest a matrix kind of a thing. That if the value of the asset is say up to say certain extent, say maybe 100 crores or 500 crores, then it could be 25%. But as the value goes up, then it should be brought down to say 20% or 50%. Okay, that's what you're suggesting? Okay. So what I understood from Sujata ji is this, that there can be a matrix, because depending upon the value. Because you see, I was also getting to one more aspect of this. Now, we say 25% is the significant difference, but assuming the difference is 24.9%, obviously then it will not be treated as a significant difference, isn't it? Though, of course, it is only 0.1%. But anyway, there has to be a certain time limit or the percentage. So 25%, the proposal is there. So any more suggestions on this, whether it should be less or whether it should be high? Because we have got only one suggestion, that it is all right. I just want to hear from other friends.
So there can be a range, like maybe 20% to 25%, or maybe like that. So if basically, like you were saying that there should be a matrix. So matrix can be there, but a range can be followed.
Okay, Sandeep ji, range ka thoda sa confusion nahi ho jayega, because you see, supposing if it falls within that range, 20 to 25, then of course, then you will have to take a valuation report. So
yes, sir, but sir, क्या होता है कि अभी जैसे 0.1% की आपने बात की है, so I think so 0.1% में एक significant difference होगा या नहीं होगा, so that will be a contentious issue.
Okay, so you are suggesting that range can be there. Okay, yes, Devangi.
Yeah, I want to discuss one practical situation.
Ji, बताएं sir.
Yeah, there was a 10% difference between two valuations, but COC proposed the RP to get the fresh valuation from the same valuer. They were not satisfied with the valuation of the given by the valuers.
Okay.
So is there any provision?
Okay, so therefore COC considered even 10% as significant.
They have considered it significant. In fact, they challenged the quality of the evaluation and requested the valuer to re-examine the valuation in the light of maybe some new facts and whatever.
Okay. See, quality is something which nobody can control, right? Obviously, we can't control the human beings. But only thing is, as far as the value is concerned, now that's a good thing which you have mentioned, that 10% was also treated as a significant, and rather COC said, "Aap kisi aur se valuation kara लीजिए."
Not
So,
from someone else, not from someone else, sir. From the same
same.
valuer.
अच्छा,
To
to
examine the
review.
valuation.
Okay. अच्छा, इसमें गोयल साहब ये बताएं, अब 10% तो ठीक है, वो तो IBBI नहीं कह रहा, but they are saying 25%. Do you agree 25% is right or it is on the higher side?
So my question is basically on that also. If a COC can decide on as a range, like Mr. Sandeep told, there could be a range which COC can decide. If the difference is this in this range, COC can decide for the revaluation.
Sir, ऐसा ना COC पे देखिए, valuation is not the forte of the COC. Please understand. Appointment of the valuer is to be done by the RP. Of course, the fees has to be approved by COC. तो COC तो बहुत late picture में आती है, because ये तो आपको पहले ही valuer appoint करने पड़ते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है सर COC पे ना जाएं, but percentage पे बात करें. According to your opinion, what should be the correct percentage?
25% is okay then.
25% is okay. Okay, fine. So friends, any more comments on the percentage?
Sir, you see, this is a 25% means when we are taking average, it will be 12.5. So it is, I think it would be okay, sir.
नहीं क्या सर 12.5 मैं समझा नहीं सर, क्या बोल रहे हैं आप?
सर जैसे हम दो वैल्यूएशन का एवरेज लेते हैं ना सर, जैसे 1 is 100 and 1 is 125, तो जब इनका 220 तो
आप कह रहे हैं कि वो 12.5%. ओके, 12.5%.
तो it will be quite reasonable, sir.
That's a very intelligent observation. I think that's because अगर हम उसको 20% पे ले आए तो फिर तो एवरेज में 10% ही आ गया बीच में. You are absolutely right. Then it becomes less than the IBA this thing also. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So one thing I wanted to add, while we talk about the valuation with respect to all classes of assets or each class of asset, that is one issue we need to understand. For example, in land and building, you might have a more than 20% variation, but in the plant and machinery, you might have a different valuation. So when we talk about the difference, what we talk about is the class of assets or collectively as a whole.
Okay. I think that's a good.
It should be for a class of assets, sir, because there might be a situation where it gets compensated.
Yes, that is exactly what my point is.
Therefore, it should be for class of assets.
No, that's a very good observation by Mr. Datta. I think that's a very important point, in fact.
In fact, sir,
just a sec, Devangji. So I think this is very important in the sense that, because you see, there may be a difference in, say, financial assets, but there may not be big difference in land and building. So should we consider at the grassroots level, that means the class level, or should we do it as a composite? I think that's a very good suggestion, sir. I think we must write to the IBBI that this difference should also be treated as the class of assets.
Absolutely.
Yes. Good. I agree with that. Okay. Yes, Mr. Diwan. Go ahead, sir.
So maybe there are two aspects of what I'm suggesting. First is on those differences. In my understanding, 25% should be of the total asset value, and that too only liquidation value, because we have two valuations, fair value and liquidation value. The reason why I'm not going to asset classes, sometimes there are hybrid assets which may be taken by one class of valuer in one type of asset class and another class of valuer in another asset class. Second thing is we are concerned with total value, and in some large cases, if you go at individual asset class level, there may be differences in my understanding. I could be wrong, sir. I reserve the right to be wrong. So maybe since liquidation value is a pivot, we should only consider 25% of liquidation value difference, and that too of total liquidation value of all the asset classes, and not individual asset class.
Okay, Devangi,
I will intervene here.
Devangi, I just want to understand. You mentioned that some asset class can belong to two categories of the classes. I really did not understand that, because if either it is a financial asset or plant and machinery or land and building, how can it be hybrid kind of a thing? Can you explain that?
Certainly, sir. So there may be certain maybe technology plants like chemical, etc., which are integrated with land. So whether a land and building valuer will value it or a plant and machinery valuer value it. Certainly there will be certain amounts of stocks with IT, maybe IP rights, etc. Whether it will come in financial assets or whether they'll be coming in plant and machinery, maybe information technology related assets. So there could be differences between two, maybe in my own case, I'm not giving the details of cases. There have been such asset class where one group of free valuers are valued in one asset class and another group of free valuers are valued in another asset class. And then they have given me the consolidated value, the liquidation value.
No, but you also appoint different class of valuers for different classes, isn't it? I mean, you appoint a one valuer to value all. So आपने जिसमें appoint किया होगा तो वो तो उसी का valuation report देगा ना वो.
100%, sir. What I did was when one plant and machinery valuer said this is, in fact, there were differences in both that this doesn't fall in my asset class. So I put it to the two valuers, land and building, plant and machinery. You tell me who is going to value it and decide it at both the professionals together or both asset classes. And I said, now you tell me.
Okay, Mr. Datta, any comments on this?
Yes, the reason why I refer to as the asset classes is that, see, as an IP, I need to appoint two sets of valuers. And assuming that I say land and building A, land and building, plant and machinery A, and financial assets A. If I add these three up and land and building B, plant and machinery B, and C. So if I add these two up and the difference between the two is more than say 25% as the benchmark. Now I find that in land and building, the difference is 30%. And on the other side, the plant and machinery, the difference is 30%. Now, which one I am going to revalue as a third or appoint as a third auditor? Is it land and building or plant and machinery? This question comes in. Or the permutation combination can work out. See, I can have land and building A and plant and machinery B and then I find out there is no difference. So all these complications will arise if I do it as a total.
Okay,
I agree, sir, because like I pointed out, it may be that in the land and building, one set of valuation is say 30% higher and it is getting compensated, say in plant and machinery, where the other valuation is on the negative side. And on the whole, the difference does not come to 25%. So essentially, we'll have to look at each class, determine that the difference is not more than whatever percentage is mandated, and go for valuation only of that class. Why should we do for classes?
See, assuming that the difference is 30%, then I'll have to appoint all new set of three valuers. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, your point is well taken. Devangji, now do you have any counter to this? Because you see, if we go by the entire class, I mean the whole of the value, then as Mr. Datta says, then I will have to appoint say 6 more valuers now, or maybe 3 more valuers in for each class, right? So, I mean, if it is taken class wise, then I have to appoint only that class, new valuer. So do you agree with this?
I agree with this point, sir. I totally take this point. And my only request is to consider liquidation value because there are two values, liquidation value and fair value, but the pivot is always liquidation value for insolvency and bankruptcy court process.
But
and
why? No, but Devangji, why you are only tilted towards liquidation? Supposing there is a 25% difference in fair market value, I think that should also be valued, isn't it?
Sir, because that is generally not considered for decision making.
Sir, just imagine in one valuation report, the valuer gives both the values. So whether it is LV or FMV, I think let it be revalued again. I don't think
perfectly fine, sir. Perfectly fine. Now I come to another aspect, sir, where earlier valuation report taken from past management or bankers has to be given to valuers, and reason for differences have to be taken.
Right.
Now, my understanding of valuation as of now is that we have to appoint independent valuers and get independent valuation reports.
Correct.
So my suggestion over here be let them first give the independent valuation reports, and the old valuation report should be given later on, and then the reasons we asked. And reasons for differences should not be the domain of IP to accept or reject. Whatever the reasons are, he should take the reasons. And if he files an avoidance transaction has to be filed, he should file. Because acceptance of a report is in domain of IP. He can accept a valuation report, but the reasons or differences should be left to independent valuers, whether it is for fraudulent reasons or for other reasons, maybe obsolescence in value, etc.
Okay, see, Devangi, see, there is one solution which can be worked out. I understand what is your apprehension of handing over the old valuation report to the new valuer. My suggestion is that let that report go to the new valuer, but we can mask the value. Whatever value is given, we can mask that area, but at least he gets all the information about the property details, because otherwise he'll have to struggle on his own, you see, for working on that. So that was the reason that the valuation report to be given, but we can suggest that the values can be masked so that it becomes absolutely independent valuation. Okay. I hope you will agree with that.
Surely, sir. Surely, sir. And then the reasons for differences, then how will we work on that, sir? To get the reason for differences if the values are masked?
Well, see, the differences in values, of course, once the report comes, then of course we can seek explanation for anyone, isn't it? Then we can show him. Then we can show him that, look, this was a value, you valued at this. Now you explain. So explanation. Right. Chalo, great. I appreciate, Devangi, your observations and also the courage to accept the others' viewpoints. I think that's amazing and very, very appreciative. Yes, Rajkamalji, you want to say something before we close now?
Yeah. I wanted to just I endorse the view of the concept of that matrix of range,
right,
depending on the value, and right. That as you suggested, that the range should be 20 to 25% with a discretion to the resolution professional that if he finds that if it is above 20%, below 25%, he can have the discretion, seeing the materiality of the instant case, he can decide for the third valuer. Otherwise, unnecessary third valuer may not be warranted depending upon the materiality aspect of it.
Rajkamalji, what I'll suggest, what I feel is, see, if you leave the discretion to the RPs, now there will be a problem. I'll tell you why. RPs पे allegation लगना शुरू हो जाएगा. Sir, discretion की बात ही मत करो, एक fix कर दो, so that he is clear in his mind कि 20% से ऊपर है, he has to go for another valuation. Otherwise, somebody will question him कि 20 से ऊपर था, तुमने क्यों नहीं कराया? He will बेचारा justification ही देता रहेगा. So according to me, discretion को जितना कम करें उतना अच्छा रहेगा.
And one more thing I wanted to add as far as the difference is concerned. Yeah. It can be on that's a ABC analysis. Suppose the assets, there are some assets are there in assets ingredients are there in the valuation reports of land and building is there. It's a very high value items are there. So in that case, the individual assets may be very important aspect of seeing the differences, because the liquidation value for the purpose of dissenting creditors and security aspects are there. So in that case also, the ABC analysis can be given that suppose say there are 3-4 more valuable assets that can individually be valued, not all the assets. If the valuation report is available on the individual asset basis, so in that case only the 1 or 2 assets can go for the second, third valuation. That will be a more practical aspect, because there may be more of contingency issue regarding the particular asset valuation, and some of the creditor may be challenging that valuation because of they have got the security of that assets. That aspect can be discussed and that can be incorporated.
Okay. Your point is well taken, sir. Your point is well taken. Okay. So friends, before we conclude, anyone wants to contribute? Otherwise, I think we have got very good suggestions. I think we can make a proposal to the IBBI, and definitely these suggestions are going to help us, or help IBBI particularly in framing the regulations in the right manner. So friends, thank you so much for participating. I think it was very overwhelming participation. A lot of good suggestions have come, and I think we have got very good material, very good base to go back to the IBBI with our recommendations. So over to you, to the you see organizers now.
Sir, today the matter of the discussion was on the enhancing effectiveness of the information utility. That was the mail circulated, and I understand we have discussed on the other discussion paper.
Acha, that I was not aware. I thought this was the paper today. So was it a different paper?
Yeah, because that is also concurrent issue that is there, but the today's topic was something different.
Acha, okay. So maybe there is some miscommunication between me and the ICSI today.
Yeah, Mr. Raj is absolutely correct. I just read this email regarding this, that this is regarding IU, not regarding the website.
I wanted to initially mention, but that since this was also a very important matter, and day before yesterday, I was also part of that discussion.
चलो कोई नहीं सर, एक मौका और मिलेगा फिर आयु के लिए डिस्कस करने के लिए.
Sir, it is always a treat to hear you every time. And maybe, sir, although we are online, when we meet physically, it is a greater treat than meeting online, sir. Those practical aspects are really great, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think it was a great participation. So I'm sorry if the different topic is discussed, but definitely it gives us another opportunity to meet once again. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.